It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm your host, Kelly Hint, queen bee of this hive, psychotherapist, life coach, and overall hype woman for my ladies and supporter of the oppressed. But let me warn you right now, today's episode is not your usual empowering pep talk. It's not polished. It's not calm. It's raw. And it's fueled by anger. Because I am sick of the violence in this country. I'm sick of the hypocrisy. And I am sick of people caring more about political points than human lives. So, this one is not for the faint of heart. Definitely not for listening to in front of the kiddos. And most certainly not for the emotionally fragile that cannot handle real talk with real emotion. So grab your Xanax, everyone, because it's about to blow up. All right, Hive. Before I lose my mind, I will warn you that the likelihood of me dropping the F-bombs is at an all-time high. If you're still listening, consider yourself warned. And also, I've got to say, if you've been listening to me for any length of time, you know that I don't jump into the topics of the moment on this podcast. I don't pick the latest buzzworthy arguments and talk about it on here. I don't throw my hat into the ring and do the political garbage or rant of the day. That's not the focus of this podcast. This podcast is for women. It is to talk about women's issues. It is to talk directly to women and uplift and empower them. But lately, I have fucking had enough. So, if you're listening to this podcast for the very first time, you have picked an episode that does not accurately represent how I usually operate. And so, if this is not one of your faves, please try another episode, one that is more in line with what you're looking for. I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I need to say a few things because I'm pretty disgusted. And also I feel like the universe has prepped me accurately for this episode because I've had like the most frustrating morning ever. I went to get some ribs out of the refrigerator to put in the crock pot. And of course, I picked up a package and there was, bloody meat juice flowing all over the refrigerator, which went all over the place. So I've had a really pissy morning. I was even yelling out to no one or anything or the universe, telling the universe to cut the shit and leave me the fuck alone because I got a lot of shit to do, right? So I almost feel like I needed to be on edge when I was recording this to remind me of exactly why I'm doing an episode like this. So again, like I said in the intro, it's not polished. I tried to write up some stuff, but I was just getting more and more angry. So let's get straight to it. America right now is drowning in violent rhetoric. And it's not just words. It's bleeding into our streets, our schools, and our homes quite freaking literally. Republicans, especially the far-right extremists, are out here treating politics like war. They are using words like take back, fight, dominate, Department of War, right? And when you constantly pump people full of fear and rage, do not act shocked when someone picks up a gun and starts fucking shooting. But let's not act like Democrats are all saints in all of this. Toxic responses from the left, mocking, shaming, dehumanizing anyone who disagrees, do nothing but throw gasoline onto the fire. So let's be real. Self-righteous contempt is just another form of hate. And if you are feeding the hate, you are part of the damn problem. And I'm going to say this, I have participated in this shit because I've been so angry. But then the therapist in me is like, girl, cool your jets. Like, what the hell's going on? Take the time to figure out why are people responding this way, right? And I will not be dropping any names because I don't want the algorithm to send me all of the haters. I have enough people. Okay, I'll be real. I have enough men that send in hate to me. I don't need any more. So I'm not going to mention names here. But for crying out loud, I'm angry about the loss of humanity. All right, I'm getting off track. I knew this was going to happen. And so I apologize. Again, I told you this was not going to be a polished episode. It's not going to be a nice, neat little episode worthy of anything other than listening to me bitch. So here's what's breaking me, okay? We have had over 600 mass shootings in 2023 alone. 600. Children are being murdered in their fucking classrooms. And what do? We send thoughts and prayers. We move on to the next headline. But the minute a politician, or most recently, just someone who spews the Republican agenda, gets attacked, suddenly there's this tidal wave of outrage, coverage, and performative sympathy. And let me be clear, violence against anyone is wrong. But where is that same fury when school kids die? Where is that outrage when the LGBTQ plus people are gunned down in nightclubs? Where is the outrage when election workers receive death threats just for doing their jobs? Where was the outrage when people on social media were posting pictures of the KKK and nooses with threats towards President Obama? Who lost their jobs for posting racist shit like that? Give me a second. No one. Not one fucking person. And we literally just had a Democratic lawmaker, her husband, and fucking dog get murdered, and there was absolutely no outrage from the right. No empathy, no sympathy, no lowering of flagpoles. Shit, I don't even think there were even any thoughts and fucking prayers tossed out for this one. I am too pissed right now to remember the specifics, but I think it was in June maybe. Regardless, this selective outrage is disgusting. Violence does not get to be partisan. Either you condemn all of it or your morality is for sale. And while we're at it, let's talk about censorship, because violence isn't the only weapon here. Silencing people has become a sport in this country. Recently, we've seen talk show hosts and commentators canceled for daring to disagree with the current administration. You might not like what they say. I sure as hell don't agree with everything that comes out of their mouths. But freedom of speech is supposed to mean something here. The First Amendment isn't just for voices that we like. It's for all of them. People, we cannot scream about democracy and then crush dissent just because it's inconvenient. That's authoritarianism wearing a red, white, and blue mask. Our constitutional rights are being chipped away in broad daylight. They are being eroded. Voting rights, right? Gerrymandering, voter ID laws, and purges of voter rolls are silencing millions, and, may I add, disproportionately minorities and women. And then how about women's rights? Since Dobbs versus Jackson, women in states across this country have lost the right to make decisions about their own damn bodies. Doctors are being criminalized for providing care. Women are being forced into dangerous pregnancies. Ignorant fucking people are making these decisions. Women are dying in parking lots of hospitals while having a miscarriage because a doctor was too afraid to provide them care because they didn't want to be tossed in jail. And okay, I'm highly emotional right now, and so I'm saying I'm not using specifics, and I apologize for that. So I should probably follow it up with, I know of at least one case specifically that I'm thinking about and ranting about right now. Regardless, one death is too many. And now, how about that freedom of speech that we are supposed to have in this country? Whether it's right-wing book bans or left-wing cancellations, speech is under attack. Libraries are pulling titles off of shelves. Campuses are silencing dissent. And social media platforms are curating reality to fit an agenda. And newsflash, the algorithms of these shit-ass platforms that I have come to hate, especially because I find it necessary to do my job, and that pisses me off. These algorithms are feeding you bullshit. They are feeding you what you want to read about. You're not getting the full story. Hell, watch, I think it's called The Social Dilemma. I think it's on Netflix. It's a great illustration of what is happening in this country. I have family members who haven't even heard about some of the tragedies that have happened on the Democratic side of things because all they are getting fed is Republican rhetoric. And that goes both ways. Both ways. And you should be terrified of this. And also, okay, so I know freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. So, like, for example, if I go off on a rant, let's say I post a video on Instagram and I talk about how, and I do not believe this, I'm just being dramatic, all men are stupid and they deserve, a life of misery and blah, 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 blah. And I post this on my therapist website. There will be consequences to that. I have the right to say that, but the consequences will come in the form of, oh, this woman was going to come see me because she has anxiety, but she saw me go off about men are these hateful, horrible creatures, and she has a son, so fuck this bitch, I'm going somewhere else, right? That's a consequence. What should not be a consequence is me getting arrested or me having my license to practice therapy removed if I offer an opinion. Now, I can lose my license to practice therapy, like, doing all those very inappropriate things that therapists should never do, like sleep with their clients, stuff like that. And that is an appropriate consequence. That's an action, not a speech, but you know what I'm saying. So I understand that if we have a platform and we say certain things, there will be some unintended consequences that happen. However, it should not be in the form of government oppression. People are allowed to disagree with the government. It is our right. It is one of the rights that this country was founded on, and we are watching it erode. And then how about the right to protest? Peaceful demonstrators are being kettled, arrested, and vilified. States have actually freaking passed laws making it easier to criminalize protests, while violent rallies somehow slide by. And we just sit back, scrolling on our phones, numbed out, waiting for someone else to save us. Spoiler alert, my friends, no one is coming to save us. It is on us. We need to do something about it. And you know what? I'm going to get personal for a minute because this affects me on a personal level. I have gotten death threats just for saying that women, minorities, and LGBTQ plus folks deserve equality. Just for standing in the light of human dignity. Think about that. Advocating for equality puts a target on my back. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. And that should make you furious. And I am no one special. I'm not a celebrity or a public figure. I'm not someone with millions of followers. I'm just some feminist bitch ranting about equality on a teeny tiny little platform. And yet the haters still find me. And they threaten me. And they say things to me like, your body, my choice, bitch. Yeah, the cool guy club is great. It's shocking to me because the one time when I fought back and I posted Nick Fuentes' address on a social media platform, I got in trouble and I got threatened by the platform that I would be banned for life. However, right in those comments and comments on another post I had made, there were men threatening my life. There were men threatening to sexually assault me, to kill my entire family. And nothing was done to them. And I reported those comments. And they still were allowed to operate. But when I did something wrong, oh man, I got the threats, right? So I used to have a TikTok that I have since deleted because I got so sick and tired of all of the hatred filling my inbox just because I have the nerve to encourage women to stop faking orgasms or be assertive at work or tell their family member no. Heaven forbid a woman enforce healthy boundaries, you know. But seriously, I actually got hate. And that's another platform where I got sexual harassment, violent physical threats, including death, just for advocating for women. And I got sick of it. And to be honest, I wasn't even going to say this, but this is the truth. I have even gone back and forth as to whether or not I'm going to continue this podcast. Because frankly, I am worn down by all of the hatred. Just because I advocate for others. And let me tell you, the only reason I have kept this podcast going in the face of all the hate that I get is because I am one rebellious bitch. I will not be silenced. But this rebellious bitch is also really fucking tired. I spend a lot of emotional energy on this podcast, and to receive hate for it drains my battery. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is the last episode. I'm just saying I'm tired. Just like John Coffey. I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of the rage that it fuels inside of me. You know, I used to lose sleep over all of the stressful shit I have to deal with in my personal life. But now, the last couple of nights, I actually couldn't sleep because of the state of this country. Are you fucking kidding me? I actually lost sleep because I am so sick over what this country has turned into. What the hell is that? I am disgusted with the celebration of violence and hatred. I am disgusted that people cannot seem to verbalize that violence is not okay, even if it's toward their, quote, enemy. And don't come at me with examples of self-defense or appropriate military action. That's not what I'm talking about, and I won't entertain your bullshit if you try to spin my words. I am just simply sick and tired of the anger and the hatred and the violence and condoning violence if it fits your fucking agenda. Fuck you. If you advocate for violence, I'm done with it. You are not helping. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to shed tears when certain pieces of shit are no longer on this earth. But I do hope it's from natural causes. I do not advocate for violence. And also, let me say, it's okay for you to feel certain ways. So, for example, there was someone who was recently assassinated, and there were some things that he has said throughout his controversial career that was very sexist and racist. And so, if you're glad that he's dead, guess what? You get to feel your feelings. I understand that. I totally understand that. But celebrating someone getting killed in front of their children, that's kind of where I draw the line. It's not cool. It is not cool at all. There are, and also, I want to say this, when we have school shootings and innocent children are killed, and the only response that we see from the right is, oh, the Dems are going to take our guns now. Fuck you. Again, that inflames me. Where is your outrage when that happens? But instead, we're going to martyr some asshole that said some horrible things about people. Now, again, I have empathy for what happened to that person. But there are other people who experience violence and loss and all this horrific shit. And it doesn't seem to be that we are universally sad and outraged about this. But you know what? Here's the thing. Out of all the anger and venom that I've spewed, here's the thing that I refuse to let go of. Hate might be loud, but it does not win. Love wins. Real love. Fierce love. The kind of love that builds movements, not cults. The kind of love that says, I see your humanity even when you deny mine. And that kind of love is a hell of a lot harder than hate. But it's the only way forward. It is hard to see humanity. It is hard to empathize with people who do not give that to us. That is a hard kind of love to have, but I encourage every single one of you to try. And let me be very clear. Fierce love is not weak. It is not passive. It is not just sitting in a yoga class chanting mantras while the world burns. No. Fierce love is rolling up your sleeves, standing your ground, and saying, I refuse to meet your violence with violence, but I damn sure will meet it with resistance and fire. Fierce love is choosing courage over comfort, justice over silence, and unity over fear. It's what Dr. King preached. It's what John Lewis called good trouble. And it's what every single movement for progress has been built on. Fierce love means being willing to look hatred in the face and say, You will not take my humanity, and you will not steal my hope. It means showing up to vote even when they make it hard. Speaking up even when your voice shakes. Protecting the vulnerable even when it puts a target on your back. It's about weaponizing compassion. And not in some kumbaya bullshit kind of way, but in a radical, unstoppable way that terrifies those who thrive on division. I'm not talking about fluffy love. I'm talking about the kind of love that flips the tables in temples, that walks across bridges knowing billy clubs are waiting on the other side. Thank you, John Lewis. The kind of love that builds communities out of the rubble and keeps fighting when the odds look impossible. Fierce love is gritty, it's sweaty, it's bruised, it's exhausting, but it's exactly what this fucking country needs right now. All right. I think it's time to talk about some actionable steps, right? So, the first thing that we have to do is call out violent rhetoric every single time. I do not care if it's your party or your favorite politician. If they are normalizing violence, you call it out. Be the badass that I know that you are. Call it out. Do not tolerate it. The next step, stop playing political teams. You do not get to excuse your side's hate while crucifying the others. Hypocrisy is cowardice, and I see it from our politicians all the fucking time. Don't be like them. The next step that we need to take is to defend free speech even when it makes you uncomfortable. Because if they can silence them, they can silence you. Even if you do not agree with someone's beliefs, we have the right to speak them. And then, of course, people, vote like your rights depend on it, because they do. And fight voter suppression with your body, your money, your time, whatever you are willing to sacrifice. And then finally, lead with fierce love. That does not mean being passive. It means being uncompromisingly committed to humanity. And with that, our quote of the week comes from Audre Lorde. And she says, "Your silence will not protect you." So what do we need to do, Hive? We need to stop being silent. We need to stop hoping that someone else will do the heavy lifting. We cannot afford passivity anymore. All right, ladies. My challenge for you this week is simple. Demand better. From your leaders, from your communities, and from yourself. Refuse to normalize hate. Refuse to normalize violence. Speak up when it's unpopular. Defend rights even when it's uncomfortable. Because if we don't fight for love and justice right now, we are going to lose more than just rights. We are going to lose the soul of this country. You're allowed to feel how you feel, but your actions say an awful lot about your character. Ask yourself, if you were in a history book, what would you want those kids to read about you? What side of history do you want to be on? What would you want to be known for? There's a lot at stake, people. Now's the time. Now is the time to demand better. Thank you, everyone who made it to the end of this episode. I know it wasn't the inspirational, uplifting, empowering episode that I try to make. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm trying to be the change. And I encourage every single one of you to try also. Again, thank you so much for tuning into the Hint Hive, amplifying women's voices. Until next time, my hive, stay loud, stay fierce, and for the love of all things good, do not stay silent. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.